Alright guys, and welcome again. And I've got a new innovation today, I should say. This is my computer. I'll just quickly show you what I've got here. I built this myself with what I can afford, with everything that I can afford. It's got a bit of a gimmicky stuff on there, but it's got lots of fans to keep it cool. And today I'm going to talk to you about my graphics card. Is my main objective, and trying to show you what I'm going to do with my graphics card today. Before I start, I'll just show you what's happening so far. So right now I'm running my computer in idle position and I'm getting about 1700 Hertz with about 46 degree in temperature. Now the problem is, when I'm playing games, the temperature seems to go up to about 83 and stay to about around about 80-ish, and that's why I'm getting a bit worried. It is quite hot, and this type of graphics card is very well known for that issue. So here we go. I'm going to show you what I'm going to try to attempt to bring the temperature down, how I will be doing it. I've got some experimental things to do. It may work on this video, it may not, but I'll put it up anyway and you can try your own or improve on my idea. Good thing about this case, the reason I bought it, the wiring on the back is always going to be difficult, but it's got plenty of airflow. Now airflow is from the top, from the front, and altogether, if I was to count how many fans there are, you can already see 3 on the top. They're about 140 mil. And the best thing is you can actually open this whole case up. As you can see, it opens up, and it can be very noisy, I know, but fans, to keep it cool, I thought it was more important than just a bit of noise. So anyway, so how many fans have I got? I've got 3 on the top, as you can see there, 140 mil, 120 mils in the front here, with it just in the front. So I've got double fans here to get more airflows in. And they basically were coincided with each other, so therefore a lot more air coming in. And also there's another one just about there as well. So then the front face, there are about 3, 4, 5, and then you've got up on the top 5, 6, 7, 8 fans altogether just on the case itself. And then you've got, of course, the fan underneath in the power supply PSU, and then you've got the fan that is causing quite a bit of problem, or is on my graphics card, which is an Asus GTX, GeForce GTX 1660 OC Ti, all sorts of things on there. But it's supposed to be a good one, but the problem is it works really well, but the fact is it does heat up. And the main reason for it, as you can see, there's only one fan underneath and it's not enough to cool it down. And this is where I've come to a point. I thought I have to do something about this. I can't afford to buy another one. It was a budget that I had, and that's all I could afford at the time. And right now, with current situation, it's hard to get hold of any good graphics card, and the price sort of gone up on everything anyway. So this will only work, I think, if your card doesn't have an extra heatsink material on the top, which this doesn't have. This literally got the motherboard kind of material on the top on anyway. So you may work on this. So first thing I attempted was, and I'll show you what this is. First attempt that I had was to do with the cooling fan. So I thought, well, how can I do that? I can put water cooler on there, which is very expensive. I might as well buy a new graphics card for that price. Second option was, I've seen that the card is actually being cooled by the airflow going from underneath, pushing it to the heat sink there and releasing the heat out from the card itself. So I thought I could try something similar. So first option was to use one of these. I had the spare ones lying around. This is from I think old CPU cooler. So I literally connected this up to a pump fan, which is right at the top there. I don't know if you can see it, right on the top there. So I just literally connected up to see what that does. And you know, it didn't do much. It literally cooled it down by 1 or 2 degrees. It didn't hit the 83 as often, but it was about 79. But one interesting thing does happen is when I'm playing games, it does fluctuate quite quickly from 75 to 83. And I don't know why that is. Either it's the fan. So what I'm going to test right now, I'm going to show you after I heat up the GPU a bit with a little gameplay, and I'll show you what happens, and then we'll go through the process of how I'm going to resolve this. So my favorite game is Gears of War, and I always play this. Been playing for quite a few years now. So I'm going to start up. As you may notice, as soon as I've started this up, my fans start to kick in, and it is a bit more louder now. So the game's starting. What it will do is basically, as soon as it starts up, the temperature will slowly go up. So it's on now 47. I can now minimize this. Where's my mouse gone? I lost my mouse. For this experimental purpose, I've literally got the GPU to show me everything that's happening with the GPU on the top left hand corner. It's part of the app that it comes with. So Gears of War, enter here, and you'll notice straight away it's hitting about 55 degrees and working at 1900 hertz. So frames are still quite good, 41. Normally it averages about 60 frames per second. So yeah, so we'll just show you what happens next. Let's heat it up a bit more, play some games, and I'll come back to you shortly. So straight away I've color coordinated my temperature of my GPU with my fans. So straight away the noise has gone up a bit more, and you can see it's gone to red, and that is because it's hit 82 degrees on there. Now that is a problem. Working on 1800 hertz, it was 19 before, but slightly cooler. Temperature gone up, hertz dropped, frame rate is good, and this is before even I started the game. This is me just on the menu, not even starting the game. So that is a problem. I do not like this, and I'm going to see if I can fix it. Alright, now that I've turned the machine off, I'm going to show you the first attempt of what I tried and see if it works. So as I said to you before, I've got this CPU cooler, and I literally just placed it's on plastic underneath, so it shouldn't conduct any electricity or cause any problem, I don't think. I hope not anyway, but I just literally placed it on top, and you can feel the heat straight away. Actually, might be a good idea just to check where the heat's coming from. So if I just put my hand over and go across, yeah, it seems to be everywhere, but more closer to the center here where the processor itself is for the graphics card. So what I did, literally just placed it on top where I can get the maximum fan speed or the airflow into the CPU. So I didn't put it right in the center of the CPU because the middle bit, I don't know how much airflow there is, but where the fan will drag the air down, at least some sort of air. I know the flow is not right here because what you're doing is all the hot air might be going down again into it. But I've noticed not that it's quite a lot of fans already, so they'll all be bringing in some fresh air, and hopefully there'll be enough for it to cool it down on the top. And I literally just connected this up straight onto the pump fan that I've got there, and now I'm going to turn the machine on and see what that does. I've got the game started, and before I even got there it was about 55, and you can notice straight away it was on 1900 hertz, hertz are dropping, and the temperature is rising fast. So I'm going to see where it goes up to. Does it hit the 82 marks and stays there, or does it stay low or not in idle position in a game menu? So I'm not playing, I'm not stressing it out, it's just literally staying in one graphical position and see what that does. So this is the test itself. So as you can see, my cursor airflows of the fans are color changing to slightly higher temperature, to slightly orange. What I've also done is my fans in the front, they are indicating, these ones here, they're indicating the temperature of my CPU, and the CPU, I must say, is staying very cool. It stays about 40-45 max, and we'll check that out later anyway, but that's not the problem. The problem is the GPU. And right now it's gone to 71 degrees instantly, almost within about a minute or two. It just goes up, and it's just going up and up. So we'll see. I'll leave it idle for a bit longer. It's only been about 2 minutes or 3 minutes just since the computer started. I'm going to leave it for a bit and see how that goes. Alright, the fan's still kicking quite hard to get this temperature down. And what I've noticed is, on a positive note, on an idle position on a gaming menu, the fan that I've got there, the CPU cooler just on top of my GPU, connected to just a pump thingy, a connector there, is actually bringing the temperature down, which where you noticed before it was about 83 to 82 is now 74 to 75. I left it idle for about 10 minutes, and you know, I did same as before. So the experiment itself is showing the fan on the top of the GPU does cool it down a bit. Now I'm going to take it to the next level next, and I'm going to show you what the next level is to keep the GPU cooler. And I'm hoping I don't break the GPU, but hopefully it will work and you'll bring it down to a lot more than just 74 degrees. One thing I would mention though, this is on an idle position, just on a gaming menu. But if I was to play gaming, which I did other day, literally the temperature will still go up to 83 degrees to 82 degrees. Okay, you'll stay there and you'll drop down depending on how much how hard the game is working and how hard the GPU is working as well. Okay, so I'll take it to the next level to see if I can get this cooled down even more, and I'll show you that now. So the plan, as the experiment showed, just having a little fan on top of the GPU makes a bit of a difference, which is basically by a couple of degrees, which is not a lot. As I said, when you're playing a game, what happens is the temperature will go up, doesn't matter how much fan you put on there. So next stage of my experiment is basically to use one of these. Now I'll open this up and I'll show you what this is. This is a heat sink. Okay, this is a heat sink. With the heat sink, I thought, what do I need? I'm going to need a fan to cool it down. Now, the thing is, I didn't really measure it properly maybe. I did get a small fan. It's a very, very small fan. But it's a 3-pin fan. And I'm hoping the wire is long enough to go where I need it to go. So it's a 3-pin fan which will go on the top just to get enough flow. Now, if this doesn't work, I'm going to put a bigger fan on just to get more power to the... and it comes with your screws. And it comes with this as well for no reason, but anyway. So next bit is to do, so now how am I going to put this? Now normally you can't just put this on top of the GPU, especially if your GPU on the opposite side has got all the circuits in it. So I am using a silicon pad heatsink, which will go with the heatsink, and this is the silicon pad I've got. So the experiment is basically putting the silicon pad on top of the GPU with the heatsink on top, and let the heat literally just rise up and let the fan disperse the heat out completely. And that's my next stage. And my doubt is right now is this fan, as you can see, is very small. What is it now, 60 mil? Let me just quickly do a measurement on this. What have I got here? This is 80. So looking at this is now, it's about, let's put it this way, it's easier, 55, 60 mil fan, which is nowhere near, and I don't think it's powerful enough for this, but it was about £2 something. I thought I'll try that first. If not, I might get another better fan. The problem is you can't put a big 120 fan on there. It's just too wide for what it is. I might do it anyway. Let's see how that goes and let's get it all worked out. First thing to do is to measure up and get it cut. Now I'm going to keep the edges, as you can see there, slightly showing a bit more on the pad itself, because I don't want any of this to touch anything on the graphics card itself. And I'm going to measure up, do some cutouts and see how that goes. So what I did, as I said to you, I'm just going to leave the edge a bit more than what I wanted, so I can actually, after I cut this side with the sharp Stanley knife, I'm going to bring it back down to a bit more to where it needs to be. Okay, so the plan is to keep the edge as much as possible. More hitting this, I'm going to just use the sharp. You have to use the sharp one because it's got plastic on. I'm hoping that you'll just cut through it quite easily. Keeping a level and flash against there. It seems to be going through quite nicely. Voila, there we go. So I'll just keep this for any other use that I might have. And now I've got the cutout just right, and put it right at the center, just like that. One thing I have to be careful of, as I said, is not the metal touch the GPU parts at all. The silicon needs to be in the middle. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the silicon on top of this first. So I'm going to get this cleaned up with the alcohol thing, so there's no hand marks or prints on there. So what I've got here is, I'm just using a normal screen protector wipes. I think some of them comes with alcohol thing on top, so I'm just going to get one of those, just clean as much as possible. You don't need to do this, I don't think, but I'm just doing it for my own sort of curiosity to see if that makes any difference. So that's that done. Just wiping it clean, dry off with the next one. I had plenty of this from over time, having screen protectors and stuff. So just get a dry cloth. And it's a long process. I'm hoping the video is not going to be too long, but dry it all off. Nothing left. Fold it again just to make sure there's nothing left, so the silicon sits on there nicely. So, okay, what we've got now is we've got nicely cut silicon. That's just literally going to go on the top, and I have to make sure it goes on nicely. So it doesn't matter which way it goes, as long as it goes on there nicely. So here we go. So I don't know if the one side is stickier than the other or not, but if I was to take this off, so I'm just peeling this off now, and it does become, so when you take this off, it does become a bit more flexible, so you gotta be careful. I'll get this on there. Alright, here we go then. Edge to edge. It is sticky. Push it in a bit more. Just making sure it guides itself down to the other end. Perfect. So there we go. The silicon is probably air bubble in there. You want to get any air bubble out. See that? I didn't think of that, did I? The air bubble. So I'll probably just use the edge of the fan to get any air bubble out. I didn't think of the air bubble. That might cause other problems as well. But hopefully, as long as there's plenty of contact on there, it should disperse or raise the heat into the thermal ped, into the exhaust here. So basically, so as you can see, I've tried best that I can to keep it away from the circuits. Alright, so this is it. This is the test. Let's do this. Oh, I was just going to leave this on top, but I'm going to have to find a way of screwing this on to the thing. But for now, I'm just going to leave it on top to see what that does. So the temperature is still showing 75, 74, 75, hitting that mark, and this is still in the idle position in my menu. What I would like to do is I would love to just pull that fan out, maybe move it away from there completely to see if that changes anything at all. Yeah. Come on. So I just moved it away now. So I just sit somewhere for a bit. Okay, so I moved it away. I'm going to leave it for a couple of minutes and see if my temperature has gone up to 75 now from 74, 76. Yeah, it didn't hit 76 before when the fan was on, so there is something happening there with the heat that's rising up from there, and I'm going to disperse the heat as quickly as possible with the heat sink. So the question is, before I put this on, where do I put it on is the main bit. So you can see this, the processor is just in the middle there, so that's where my concentration will be, and there's some bit more stuff that I need to cover up with this silicon. So we're going to plonk it on top and put the fan on top. Temperature went up to 82 degrees, so that fan on the top made a big difference, but as I said, when gaming it won't make a difference at all because the temperature will go up because I'm using a lot more. This is the bit I've got to take the keeping it on there, it's a hard bit. So I'm going to turn the machine off first before I do anything at all. Shut it down, take the power off completely because there's a little light here, I don't know if you can see, for the GPU. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to show you how I'm putting it on in a second. I'm just checking to see if it clears anything at all on top. Yeah, it seems to be quite good, so I can just put it back as possible and just put a plonker right on top of. So I'm going to stuff on these bits here to about that bit there. I'll do that. So first thing to do is take the plastic bit off from there. This is the hard bit because it doesn't really come off that easily. Keep having to push it back down. There it goes. Push it down again. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing it back down and then pulling it again. That way there's no little bubble show. There's a little bubble showing there, isn't there? Get the bubbles out. And that's taken off now. Okay, so that's ready. It's a little bubble right in the middle. You can just about see it. Lighting isn't great on here, so this is I've got to be careful. I'm gonna go straight down as far as I can go, and then plonk this down centrally with everything else that's there. Hold it down, press it down as much as I can. Problem is there are 4 screws there that's holding the bottom bit up, or the cooler on there, and they're slightly raised up, so I'm hoping that with the soft, I mean, it does need a bit more pressure down if I could, but I don't think I'm able to do that at all. Anyway, so that's on there now. My worry is if it's conductive, it might cause a problem, but I'm hoping it's not. So I'm just gonna let that go. The graphics card should be hot enough for it to. It doesn't stay on there nice. There we go. I'm pushing it right in now. Okay, there we go. That's the best that I could do. There's nothing to screw it onto. I can't do that yet. So I'm going to turn the machine on. Put the power supply back on. The graphical light has just come on there, you can't see it, so I'm going to turn this on. Oops. This is just with the heatsink, and shortly after I'll put the fan on top as well. As I said, this fan here is just too big to go on top. I was thinking I might be able to get a smaller fan even to the side and stick it to the side, and they'll just sort of put the air out. Cool air, most cool air will come from this side here and go through it and take the hot air out. That was my another plan. So we'll try a different variation of it and see how that works. So I'm going to once again start it off, go into the game position and see if that on its own makes any difference. So there's no fan on it, just on its own, does that make any difference? Alright guys, so I put the silicon on, which is supposed to take the heat from the GPU onto the heatsink and release the air, cool it off. Problem now is that it's not actually working. I can tell you why it's not working. It's most likely a chance that there's not enough contact with the card itself with the silicon. There's a big gap in the middle. I thought this being a pad, it will be softer cushion, so you literally sink down, which it's not doing, and there's no way I can clamp this down further to make it work. So it's actually idling as it does with or without it for about 82 degrees, and 82 degrees is not good enough. So the next thing to do is basically see if I can put a fan on there. Well, I don't think fan will make any difference at all, but I could try it. So I'm going to do this, which you should never do this at all. I'm just going to take this fan out. Oh, there we go. That's fans out. And put the smaller version on the top and see if that changes the temperature at all. And I've got to be very careful when I do this. With a smaller hand it would have been good. Oh, where is the thing? Oh, it's on that side. Straight away the fans start to work. Now I need to turn around. Oh yeah, it's going to make a noise. But that's not a good sign, is it? Okay, let's take this out. I think the problem with the fan itself. Oh, I see the problem. It's touching the wire. It does punch a whole lot of air out, so I'm hoping that will be enough for it to work. So I'm just going to push it back in again. Oh, first time around was easier, second time around it's not. Just can't get my hand in there. Okay, here we go. How did I do it before? I'm pushing the air down, so I'm just going to leave it on top like this. And I don't think that will make a big difference to the cooling at all, but I thought I'd give it a go. I've got the fan, why not try it? There's a lot of heat coming out from the bottom bit, of course. Another option may be just to get a fan and put it on this side and just get more air into it, but I don't know. But I need to get this GPU cooled off cheap as possible. Well, that's interesting. It dropped by a degree, so it was 82 before, idling to 83, 82, and it's now dropped down to 78, 79. So that fan has made a little difference to the whole thing itself. Yeah, 78, 79. So 1 degree with a fan on the top. It is unusual. But as I said, the main reason it's not working is the silicon. There's no way I can put this metal right onto all the circuits that there is already there. That will cause a bigger problem to my GPU, and that's why the pad was supposed to be helpful. And the machine sort of pumping more air in now as it is. The noise sort of gone up. Just so much heat coming out of this. Alright, let's see. Let's try something different in a second. Just to let you know, I've taken the heatsink off, and as I said to you, this is basically those 4 screws are on there that's holding up, and you only connected to 4 of those chips or whatever they're called, and nothing else. So it's not really doing the job that it needs to do, and I can't think of any other way of doing this. I mean, as you can see, it did indent a bit, but it wasn't enough to dispense the heat. Alright, so next option is to basically, the temperature's gone back up to about 80 degrees. Next option is put the fan directly on top and see if that makes any difference. I'm hoping there's nothing that will hit it. I'm just literally going to place it on top of the screws. Maybe even just screw it from this side. That's surprising, it's almost going into the screw if I just leave it like that. Come on, put this side on then. Well, I should have tried the other way, but I don't think it's going to work as well. It's going to hit the thing is, by me pushing air into it, it's got nowhere else to go. There's no flow to it, and that's where the cooling takes place when it's flowing. So it's down to 78 degrees just by doing that. What I might do, a respectable temperature would be to get it down to, so much is heat. How about if I take the heat out of it? So the question is, I need to raise it with something and then put it on the top. So I've got it raised up like this. I don't know. Okay, let's try different ways in a second. Now here's an interesting fact. You put this on there, my hand in there, on top of the GPU, you don't feel much heat. You do feel the heat coming up, but it's not enough. But as soon as I put the fan on there, what it's doing is amazing, because it's literally sucking all the heat up. And I can't show you with my finger. I'll put my finger on this tree, on top of it, just on top, you can feel the heat rising straight away. So that's an interesting idea. So I've got to find a way of taking the heat out instead of putting heat in. Take the heat out maybe is another option, so I'll try that next. Alright, so my next plan is to get the heat out of there as quickly as possible. Some fan will go on top, but you'll need something to stand on. So I've got this plugs, wall roll plugs. I'm going to chop it a bit, put it on either side, so they're like going to be 4 legs. Screw it from the top, and hopefully there'll be enough just to sit on top. And we'll try that next. So literally just putting it like this, screw on the top, and let's see how that goes. So I'm going to chop a little bit off about halfway. Alright, among all the noise, let me just show you what I've done. I got the roll plug, screw, if you can see a screw into the roll plug, made 4 legs out of it, trying to get the height just as right so it should sit on top. So first thing to do once again is to put the fan back on, which I always find difficult to do. So that's started already to go, fan's turning. So I'm just gonna get on top. My plan is to get on top. $78. Maybe it's a bit too high, it needs to be lower, but let's feel. Wow, that is sort of, you can feel the heat straight away, how much heat's there. But the temperature hasn't dropped yet, so I don't think that's working as well. It's got a lot of force on this fan for a little tiny fan. What happens if I move it slightly? As I said, this is very experimental. Still idling about 78 degrees, so not much change. I'm going to give it for a few more minutes to see if that makes any difference. Right, here we go. So what I've got there is basically the heatsink with the fan on top, pushing the air down into the heatsink and cooling off. And I've also put some gaffer tape on top just for the air to go in and then flow out either side to get the heat out that way, like the exhaust. The test that I made right now is basically to see when I'm playing the game. Alright, good news. I've managed to get the temperature down much lower. I haven't done much really. I literally did a stress test, played a game for a few hours, and the temperature literally kept down. And I kept the door of my computer case closed as well, and it kept the temperature way below 75. And with a good stress test, it showed this does actually work, and I'm quite pleased with the fact it's working for me. So this seems to have worked, and hopefully it works for you as well. If you try something similar, there's many other ways of doing it. So thanks for watching, and take care.